Welcome back, fight fans. It's a BLÜ-FC, and we're here with episode 30. How about that? How about that? That's a milestone. Wait until we get to 50. That's going to be a good one. Now, we've got three things to talk about today. We've got UFC 272. I'm going to bring the mic closer. UFC 272, Unified MMA 43. And, of course, this week's event, UFC Vegas, number 50. Another big milestone. How about that? Isn't that cool? Which is crazy that we've been doing these Vegas things for, I think it's been 2 years now. That is absolutely crazy that we've got all the way up to 50 now for that. That's crazy. And we've been doing, how many have we covered? Like 20 of them? That's wild. That is wild. Anyway, that's the order we're going to do it in. UFC 272, Unified MMA, and then this week's UFC Vegas 50. So, UFC 272, I told everybody, I said this was going to be insane. I specifically said every single fight on this card looks great, and it was. It was really everything I thought it was going to be, maybe even a little more than I thought it was going to be. It was fantastic. So we'll start off with the first prelim of the night. And it was actually one that I had even talked about. It was Dustin Jacoby, Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. Going into it, I thought it was going to be Jacoby by decision because he hasn't really been getting any finishes here, you know. What else was I saying here? I just figured, you know, obviously being that he's a kickboxer, he's going to have the edge, excuse me, in the striking department. So that made a lot of sense. Also, he had the longer win streak. He had a draw against Ion Cutelaba. Both of them were really hard to finish, as you could see in their records if you looked at it. And I talked about that last time. So I was going with Jacoby by decision. And, well, that ended up to be exactly what we saw. Good pick for me. Right away, amazing way to start the night, really. Honestly, this was actually one that I really considered to be Brawl of the Night. Most people didn't really talk about it, I guess because it was the opening fight of the night. And that always kind of sets the bar. Also, most people aren't really watching by then. But honestly, I thought this was one of the better ones. It really was. And it really set the tone for the night, how good the whole night was going to be. Both of them had moments in the first round. It was pretty even, but Mikhail got the takedown, so he probably took that one on the cards. Even though Jacoby is obviously the more experienced striker, he really did not look like it at first. Mikhail was landing so well that Jacoby actually started to look for some takedowns. Never a good sign if you're a kickboxer and you're looking for takedowns. That's not good. In the second round, Jacoby came in a lot heavier, woke up somehow. I don't know what he did in between rounds, but he looked a lot better. Landed a bunch of huge shots, stumbled Oleksiejczuk a couple of times, almost ended the fight there, actually. And then he sprinkled in some clinches along the fence, easily took that second round. So, 1-1 going into the third there. And the third, honestly, was pretty dead even. I didn't really know which way it was going to go. I thought maybe Jacoby was going to get it because of some late clinch work along the fence. And that's exactly what happened. He ended up getting 29-28. All of them had it that way, which is exactly what I had too. And if you were watching it and wondering why the world famous kickboxer was not throwing any kicks, he did say after the fight that he actually had injured both of his legs. That is not good. Not good when that's your main thing. That's not good. But he still got through it. Still got the unanimous decision win there. And it was a good one. I mean, to be a kickboxer and not be able to kick and still come out with the win, that's pretty good. He threw one kick the whole fight, I think they said, from what I remember. The next one, Ludovic, Klein, and Devonte Smith. I mean, this was another one that I could have talked about. Like I said, I could have talked about every single one of these. I really could have. This one ended by split decision, but honestly, I have no idea how. I really don't. I mean, I thought it was very clearly 29-28 for Klein. I don't know how one of the judges saw it in the other direction. I really don't. Yeah, it was really weird. I will say going into this though, I had picked Smith on Tapology there. But after getting it on late notice, Klein really looked better pretty much the whole time, really. He stumbled Smith twice, almost ended the fight in the very first round. And then Smith actually came in hard with some massive head kick attempts. Holy smokes. But really, Klein used the clinch, nullify that offense, stumble him again. So, it made sense. Klein pushed forward and momentum. My goodness. And landed some of the I'm trying to read my notes. Yeah. So he landed some huge kicks again to really had Smith walking back the whole time. So, I mean, I just don't see, like, he was dominating the whole fight. I don't see how a judge could have seen it any other way. Devonte tried, he was looking like he could steal a KO finish in the middle of the final round there, but it just wasn't enough. To me, that was a very clear decision for Klein. Yeah, I have no idea. One of the judges saw it 29-28 for Smith. I don't know. It wasn't like the worst thing I've ever seen, obviously, because if you were paying attention, last week I posted my bonuses and the worst card on the month was on there. It's my new blue bonus because honestly, there's been so many judges cards that have been absolutely insane that I've decided to make my own blue bonus about it. And yeah, that one was horrible. And even actually, not this past week, but the week before, we had quite a few weird ones. I talked about it. Gregory Rodriguez, I think, got robbed. Kim actually did get robbed. That was insane that she didn't win that fight, even though I had picked Rodriguez. And obviously, I was happy that I got to cash that in. But still, I would honestly rather that the right person win. I don't necessarily care as much about my person winning. I just want the right person to win because I know that I'm going to be on the wrong side of it eventually. And I was actually with other Rodriguez before that. So, I mean, I was 1-1 on those terrible decisions, but still, you don't want to see that happen because you're fucking with people's careers and also the bettors. I mean, that's ridiculous. In fact, that brings us into the next one because of this. I had a 9-fight parlay, people. I had a 9-fight parlay. I put $5 on it. And if I would have cashed it in, I would have gotten $106 back, people. 106. That's over 20 times. Like, that is a ridiculous profit. And guess what, folks? I got 8 out of the 9 right. This next one, and it was complete garbage is what I have to say. It was Tim Elliott and Tagir Ulanbekov. My second prelim that I was going to talk about, that I talked about last time, I should say. I had it Ulanbekov by decision going into that. And I even said how good this was going to be. I mean, I even said it could have been the co-main on any card, really. It was Elliott ranked 13th, Ulanbekov ranked 15th. I mean, the flyweights are always so good, and these two are really good too. Ulanbekov, of course, Dagestani, coached by Khabib, 13-1 and a 2-0 record in the UFC before this. And then, of course, Elliott, very much a veteran at this point. Yeah. He's lost 12 times, and most of them have been by submission. So that was the other reason why I chose Ulanbekov, because, of course, he's a Dagestani wrestler. So I figured he'd use that wrestling to get the control or maybe even get a submission. So that was my reasoning behind that. And honestly, he was kind of using it. Now, the real fight. Elliott obviously looked awkward as always, weaving in and out. Ulanbekov landed some good combos, though. What was interesting, though, is that Elliott was actually the one getting takedowns here. Very strange. I thought that was really weird. Not only that, he knocked Tagir down with a huge shot to take the first round. But, and this is why I'm pretty sure I would say we lost the decision here, and Ulanbekov lost the decision. And it was all over the place. It was all over Twitter. They even showed replays of it a bunch of times. They even asked him about it after. Is that Elliott was grabbing Ulanbekov's glove and then hitting him. So he would basically pull his glove and then punch him as he was doing that. So he couldn't get away. Not only that, you're pulling somebody towards you. So, I mean, that's how he was getting knocked down. That's why he was getting hit so much. So, I mean, to me, that basically swings the whole fight in that favor. And that's ridiculous to lose that way. That is terrible. Especially, like I said, when you have a 9-fight parlay going and that's the one fight that you lose like that. That is ridiculous. Also, there's all the clips, of course, of Khabib losing his mind in the corner, and rightfully so, because he could see that Elliott was doing that, and the ref wasn't doing anything about it at all. And like I said, they asked Elliott about it after, and they even said, "Were you grabbing Elliott? Were you grabbing Ulanbekov's glove?" And he said, "Yes, I was grabbing his glove." So he even admitted the whole thing. And guess what? Nothing happened. Not only that, he won. So there you go. Good for you. I'm not a fan of Elliott anymore. That's some bullshit. You don't cheat like that. That's garbage. Even though, and yes, of course, I'm a little upset about losing all of that money on the 9-fight parlay. But I mean, come on. You don't cheat like that to win. That's not cool. That is not cool, man. After that was another prelim that I had talked about last time. It was Umar Nurmagomedov. Wow, am I Joe Rogan over here? Umar Nurmagomedov and Brian Kelleher. And again, Khabib coaching this one. And of course, I had Nurmagomedov. Well, I wouldn't say of course, but I had Nurmagomedov going into this. I should just say Umar. It's a lot easier to say. I had Umar going into this just because Kelleher has a trend of losing to people that are going to be in the top 15. Plus, Umar, obviously undefeated. He's got the wrestling background. So I figured we would probably see a finish here just because Umar is that good. And that's exactly what we saw. Both of them were being pretty cautious right away, really trying not to make that early mistake. Kelleher was actually keeping up with Umar's grappling, really, but eventually it was just too much. And that's really what the Dagestani do so well. They just keep putting the pressure on over and over again, every single minute throughout a round until they finally get something. And that's exactly what happened here. Umar ended up taking Brian's back, quickly got the submission, and made him tap almost immediately, actually, to get the first round win. And this was actually my blue bonus first submission of the night, because it was, I mean, it's hard to make somebody tap that quick, especially when they do actually have a wrestling background like Kelleher. So that was very impressive. And after that, really, I mean, you've got to be ranked. I mean, fighting somebody ranked next. So I think that's what we'll very clearly be seeing for Umar. Especially with the bantamweight being the bantamweight division being as stacked as it is. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, obviously he's not jumping up too high here. He's got to do somebody even like 11 to 15 there, somewhere near the bottom, like Ricky Simone or Asuncia would make a lot of sense. But maybe even the loser of Yadong or Moraes. And we're actually going to be talking about them later when we talk about, of course, UFC Vegas 50, because that is exactly where they're fighting. So even the loser of that would make a lot of sense, because I think they're somewhere like 11 or 12 or something, those two. So yeah, that would make a lot of sense too. Next up, Marina Moroz, Maria Agapova. Oh, did I say Maria Moroz? Marina Moroz and Maria Agapova. Agapova came in the favorite of this fight. In fact, I chose her on Tapology. Actually, I made a lot of terrible decisions on Tapology just for the prelims, though. But the ones that we bet on, the ones I told you about, I won all of them except for one of them. Just saying. Anyway, that aside. But Moroz came in and what was I going to say? Dominated her. Wait, came in the fight but challenged that by... Yeah. I wrote that weird on here. I just realized that. She dominated along the fence and on the ground for the first 4 or 5 minutes. I mean, it was crazy. Had a bunch of deep submissions. Really looked like she was a couple seconds away from winning the fight. But I don't know how Agapova got out of them. She did. It was crazy to watch. Honestly, I was like, well, this is done. Like, there's no way she's getting out of this one. And she did it over and over again. She continued that, or I should say, Moroz continued that momentum in the second round. More submission attempts all over the place and a bunch of ground and pound. And then really after smothering her for the whole first half of that second round, Moroz got her into another deep submission, and that was it. It was just too much. By the way, I ended up giving Marina Moroz one of the most... I had 2 choices for most valuable fighter this time. One of them was Marina Moroz, of course, because if you weren't watching, she's from the Ukraine, and she came in like that. Also, Maria Agapova is her old training partner. So, I mean, you've got the training partner storyline. You've got the whole Ukraine situation with her family and her friends and all that back home. I mean, I can't even imagine. So, and then overcame all that to really just win every second of the fight and get a submission in the second round. That is amazing. So I ended up giving her the most valuable fighter, of course. I mean, to overcome all that and do that, I mean, even just show up, honestly, is wildly impressive. That's crazy. After that, Nick Negumereanu beat Kennedy Zechukwu by split decision. Also kind of questionable. I had a couple of questions about this one. I don't know. It was pretty close, though. It wasn't like a robbery or anything, but I was kind of like, I don't know about that one. I think. I don't know. We'll see. Really, the story of the fight was the massive difference in size between these two guys. Zechukwu came in looking like a light heavyweight, but Negumereanu looked like a middleweight. I mean, it was really actually bizarre to look at. It's so noticeable when people come in 2 wildly different sizes. Obviously made it harder for anything to land on Kennedy. I mean, he's got the much longer reach. He's so much bigger. Hard to land anything like that. And it really was unclear who won the first round. Nobody really did anything significant, though. In the second, though, Negumereanu was in clear control along the fence, landed a couple nice strikes on the feet. So, not really sure which way that would have gone there. So I guess, it kind of makes sense with a split decision. Anyway, more interesting, though, in the third round after Kennedy poked Nick's eye very hard, very, very hard. He was like, it was like blinking, like muscle spasms and stuff like that. Not on purpose. Like, it was just like, yeah, just muscle spasming. It was crazy to see, really. Like, it looked really hard. They took a point away, really. So that was also a huge factor in that decision there, because Kennedy lost a point there. And he actually ended up taking advantage of that, because of course you do. You've got to take advantage of that blurry vision from your opponent, even though that's slightly unethical. But I mean, you got to do what you got to do to get the win. Landed some heavy strikes throughout the rest of the round. Negumereanu, though, even though with that eye poke, started to rally near the end of the fight, stumbled Kennedy a couple of times, actually. Yeah, considering really all the back and forth moments in the fight and the point deduction, I honestly, it was pretty hard to tell who was going to win the fight, really. The judges saw it 29-27, 29-27, and 27-29 for Negumarianu. Yeah, I'm not really sure why it was a 27-29 in the opposite direction. I could not tell you because there was very clearly one round in there for Negumarianu, but we see that all the time again. Also, what I remember actually thinking now that I read through that whole thing, I remember what I was thinking. I thought it was going to be a draw. I really did. Because I kind of had it 29-28 for Kennedy. And then because of the eye poke, I saw it actually 28-28. So I was thinking we were going to see a draw. But I was actually just really surprised that none of the judges saw it as a draw at all, actually. So that was really weird. I don't know. Anyway, that was a really weird one. But yeah, people were complaining online that Kennedy didn't win that. I mean, after a point deduction like that in a close fight, yeah, I don't think you're going to win. But like I said, I thought it was going to be a draw. Anyway, the next one. Why wasn't this on the main card? Oh my God. Everybody said that all last week. This one should have been on the main card. I totally agree. Greg Hardy did not need to be on the main card. This one, Marina Rodriguez, Yan Xiaonan, definitely should have been on the main card. That's why I had talked about this one last week. Amazing. And you know what? It was just as good as we thought it was going to be. Well, actually, it was just as good as we thought it was going to be. I thought it could have been better, but it was still pretty good. I had Rodriguez going into this because really of what I saw in her last appearance against Mackenzie Dern. Because when you dominate somebody who's only lost once in their career like that, and it was like that glaringly obvious that she was much better, it says a lot. As for Yan, I mean, I hadn't really seen her fight, so I really just had the stats to go by. So I was saying Rodriguez by decision there. As expected, lots of striking here, of course. That's exactly what we knew was going to happen. But it seemed like Yan was really leading the exchanges in the first round. She had a lot of extra speed, so that helped a lot. The second, pretty much dead even, really. They both let go a lot more, so way more offense there. And really in the third round, Rodriguez came alive and really started to control the exchanges on the feet and got some control along the fence. So that one was very clearly her. But I mean, because of the first two, couldn't really tell which way this was going to go. Honestly, I had it 29-28 for Yan. Again, like I said, I'm as unbiased as possible because I even had, like I said, I picked Rodriguez, but I'm pretty sure Yan won that fight 29-28. But there was a split decision and it went the other way this time. Rodriguez ended up winning that. So, good for our picks. But I'm not sure if she won that one or not. I just thought that Yan was looking better in the first two rounds. Like I said, especially with that speed advantage, she was looking pretty good. So, I don't know. I wouldn't say it was a robbery because it was very, very close. But I don't know. I saw it going the other way. Anyway, seems as though there's a pretty clear direction for this division to go in now. Really, the next title defense for Rose very clearly should go to Esparza. Makes a lot of sense because, I mean, Esparza beat both Yan and Rodriguez. They're both their only losses, well, up until, of course, this one. So makes a lot of sense. Also, yeah, Esparza is just so good. She's on a tear. I mean, really, it's the only one that makes sense. So that has to happen. And honestly, I thought the perfect thing to happen from this one is the winner should take on Wei Li. Makes a lot of sense, because Wei Li is not getting another title shot anytime soon. She lost twice. So that's kind of what happens. You lost your opportunity. Esparza is getting it anyway. So that means really Wei Li is going to start gatekeeping the title essentially because she's that good that she's just going to beat everybody out of the way. So yeah, for that, now it makes sense to put Rodriguez in that position Or if she wants to wait, you wait for Rodriguez to go after Esparza, unless Esparza is for some reason, really for some reason not fighting because she hasn't fought in so long. Who knows what's happening? So maybe we see Rodriguez slip in there for a title shot first. I don't know. But Weili makes the most sense to me. We also haven't seen Joanna in a long time. So she's honestly going to be in the conversation too. I think the three that make sense is Weili, Joanna, and Rodriguez. They can fight each other somehow. That would all make sense. And even have Jan maybe even fight Weili, because that would be pretty cool too. An all China matchup. That's really cool to see. I like that kind of stuff. It's really cool to see. Plus, they're both very similar. I think Weili would probably win that, but they're both very good strikers and they can both go on the ground. So I think that would be really cool to see. I don't know. There's a lot of really cool matchups there, but yeah. As for another one for Jan, though, I would say Dern would make a lot of sense as well, actually. And it would make sense for both of them because they both actually just lost to Rodriguez. Obviously, there's that. Plus, they really don't have any other losses in the UFC. So they're kind of above everybody else at the bottom. And it's just a good matchup, too, because Dern needs to prove herself against another striker like Jan. And Jan kind of needs a win to stay into that conversation of the, Joanna and Weili at the top there, and then possibly going up to the title eventually. So it makes sense for everybody. It makes sense. But yeah, honestly, that's a really exciting division. And they even said it on the broadcast. I think I agree as well, actually, that it's the most well-rounded women's division. I think that's, honestly, I don't even think that's close. There's a very clear, I would say as the size goes down, it gets way, way more developed because you've got featherweights, which doesn't even have rankings right now. Bantamweights, you've basically only got 3, maybe 4 that can actually compete. And then in flyweight, it's like, okay, you've got 3, maybe 4 that are actually really good. And then you've got strawweight, which is like pretty much everybody in the top 10 is actually pretty solid and could do quite a bit. So yeah, anyway, very good division. After that, we're not even on the main card. Good God, we're taking a long time. And we've got Unified MMA. But again, we're having a conversation. We're talking. We're discussing things. Why not? Jalen Turner, Jamie Malarkey. On Tapology, I had Malarkey going into this just because he looked so good in his last one. But I really figured this was going to go either way. I didn't talk about this on the broadcast last time, obviously. The whole prelim card was filled with amazing fights. I mentioned that already before. This one, honestly, was even crazier. It ended up being my fight of the night, actually, my brawl of the night. It was just so good. Because there were some moments here and there in all of the other fights where there was a bunch of wrestling and it slowed down a lot. But this one didn't have that. It was explosive the whole way through. It was so good. They came out right away, threw everything at each other. They both stumbled each other and landed a lot. It's really tough to see who edged the first round there because of all that. But it was so, so fun to watch that one. Turner did more damage on the feet there, busted up Malarkey's nose, blood all over the place. And Malarkey got a takedown near the end of the round. So, really, it could have gone either way. Probably would have leaned towards Turner, though, just because of the busted nose and all the strikes landed. But still, in the end, none of that mattered, though. Turner got a huge shot at the start of the second and finished him early with some, I don't know if it was ground and pound or not. I didn't write that. But yeah, amazing. Seriously amazing, because Malarkey is so good. And to do that, for Turner to do that, is very impressive. So maybe we'll see him kind of fight someone in 14th or 15th. I don't know. I don't know if he's ready for that yet. I'm not sure, because lightweight is just so jam-packed. I don't know. I just don't know. That's such a good division. I don't know if he can do it, but they'll probably give him something soon. I'd like to see that anyway. But yeah, Malarkey's still good. That does, doesn't take too much off of it with that performance. He's still amazing. Main card now. Why was this on the main card? I have no idea. But Greg Hardy, Sergey Spivak. I had Spivak by finish here for quite obvious reasons because Hardy's terrible. But also, like Spivak just seems better. He's also faster, obviously, because he weighs a lot less. But because it's heavyweight, you never know. Hardy could have landed something, especially considering, and I think I mentioned this last time, he was 290 pounds, Hardy, at the start of the week. So he had to lose almost 30 pounds to make weight. By the way, he barely made it. He was literally exactly 266. So he almost became the second person in UFC history to miss weight at heavyweight. Baffling. Hardy came in with some heavy leg kicks, but Spivak stuck to the game plan and was really throwing around Hardy like a dummy. I mean, it was ridiculous to see somebody that's he probably gained it back. He's probably like 280 pounds in the ring. So to throw somebody around at 280 pounds, that's mind-blowing. And he was throwing him all over the place. Anyway, he got him on the ground there. And then what did we see here? Just let loose some ground and pound. Knocked him out cold, by the way. It didn't look like he was knocked out, but then they showed him, and then the doctor was looking at him, and he was like, whoa. So yeah, definitely knocked him out cold. Good to see. And that was also Greg Hardy's last fight on his contract. I would be blown away if the UFC decided to renew that, considering all of the bad press that Hardy gets, plus the fact that he's lost 3 in a row now by KO. And I don't know if all of those were in the first round, but 2 of them were. So I just can't see him coming back. Good riddance. Good day. Bye, Greg Hardy. Spivak's only losses have come to Harris, Tybura, and Aspinall. Harris is sitting in 14th right now. So why not make that rematch? It makes a lot of sense. If not, we haven't seen Sakai in a while, so that would make a lot of sense too. But I would really like to see that rematch with Spivak and Harris. That would make a lot of sense. And like I said, Harris is in 14th right now. Makes sense. Make it happen. Also, we haven't even seen Harris in a while either. A lot of these heavyweights near the bottom, actually, we haven't seen in a while. Really weird. After that, very exciting one. Kevin Holland, Alex Oliveira. We knew this was going to be good. We knew it was going to be good. I was saying Holland by finish. I didn't know this going into it, but he has the longest reach in welterweight history at 81 inches. I did point out how insane of a long reach that really is. But then I found out while watching the broadcast that is a UFC record for welterweight reach. That is absolutely crazy. So yes, he will always, literally always have a reach advantage down in that division. And honestly, it seemed like his new home. Again, of course, I had him going into this because he's knocking middleweights out with one punch power. So coming down to welterweight, of course, he's still going to have huge power because he wasn't even cutting weight to get into middleweight. So now he's actually cutting a little bit of weight, coming down to welterweight. Fantastic. I mean, I can't wait to see what he does here, seriously. So just as we expected, all fireworks this one. The first round, I think Holland was kind of getting used to fighting at this weight and fighting somebody that's a lot faster, I would say, because of course, Oliveira also isn't even really the biggest welterweight. So he's very quick. So he's not really used to that. So maybe that's what it was. I don't know. But yeah, the first round, not necessarily that great. Threatened. Oliveira got some takedowns in there and even locked in a submission with a few seconds left in the first round. Of course, Holland was not threatened by that whatsoever. If you've seen the meme on UFC, and even when it happened, I burst out laughing so hard when I saw him do it. Was literally mid choke and he just flashed the thumbs up. with 2 seconds left. Amazing for Holland. But yeah, he easily got out of that round. Anyway, Holland came back in the second, blistering calf kicks, crazy, wobbled Oliveira a couple times. And then Holland was done taking it easy after that. He was awake. He was ready, used to everything. Came in heavy, dropped Oliveira, ended the fight with some nasty ground and pound. I mean, the way he does ground and pound is absolutely insane. It looks like he's literally just hammering them. It's crazy to see. Crazy. So TKO for Kevin Holland, as we expected. And now that he's got a fight in this division, we've seen how he can do. He's used to the weight cut. You know, he's got the longest reach in the division's history, like I said. I think we're going to keep seeing him here. There's no reason for him to go back up. I mean, it just makes a lot of sense. So what do we see next for him? I think we're still kind of wondering if he can compete with an elite wrestler. So somebody like that would make a lot of sense. Somebody like Lee or Chiesa would make a lot of sense for that. And then, of course, he can rightfully kind of earn his spot in the top 15 there in the welterweights. That would make a lot of sense. But if we want to put him against a striker, I know he's ranked higher, but why not put Wonder Boy in there? You've got two amazing strikers, Holland, Wonder Boy. I mean, it just makes a lot. How amazing would that be? And also in the octagon, because Wonder Boy is widely known as one of the nicest people in the entire UFC. And then you've got Kevin Holland, who trash talks constantly. So I'd really like to see how that turns out in the octagon. What's Holland going to say? And I don't think I know Thompson isn't going to get thrown off by that. So it'd be really cool to see that kind of dynamic too. But yeah, I would love to see that. Maybe, you know what? Maybe even Thompson would have some fun and throw in some trash talk himself. But yeah, that is what I want to see. Striker, go for Wonder Boy. Grappler, throw in Lee, Chiesa. Makes a lot of sense. Make it happen. I can't wait. I mean, Kevin Holland is just so good. I mean, we could see him at any point. He's so active. We could see him next month, honestly, and I wouldn't even be surprised. Next one, Edson Barboza, Bryce Mitchell. I had Mitchell going into this, even though I figured it was going to be pretty close, because Barboza obviously has all the experience. But because of what I saw in that Giga rematch, and I mentioned it last time, you know, when you have a kickboxer kind of leading the grappling scenarios against you, that's not really good, especially when Mitchell is so good on the ground. And I knew that because I had seen Mitchell's last two. So I've just really figured that Mitchell was going to be dominating on the ground. And that's exactly what he did. Literally, it was just all dominance on the ground the entire time. And you know what? It was dead even really in the first round until Mitchell actually shocked everyone, I think. He knocked down Barboza. Barboza does not get knocked down ever, really. So that was really surprising. Maybe he slipped partially. I don't know what happened, but that was crazy to see. But he actually used that position to keep Barboza on the ground, really for almost the entire rest of the round. And really, just as he got up, just near the end of the round, though, I should say, Barboza landed a huge shot and actually shut the eye of Mitchell. So I was a little worried at that point, of course, because you can't see what you're doing at that point. And Mitchell even said that he couldn't really see what was happening out of that side. So that's not good. But of course, when you're mostly just wrestling anyway, that doesn't seem to matter. And that fits really right into what Mitchell was trying to do anyway. So it ended up not mattering at all, really. What was I going to say? In the second and third, it was just all Mitchell, smothering him on the ground the entire time. And in the end, he won 30-25, 30-26, and 30-27 on the judges' cards. I think I probably would have had it 30-26. But you know what? 30-25 is even justified because Barboza had absolutely no answer for that. And really, to do that to somebody that good, Nobody 30-25s Barboza. That is absolutely insane to see. And people were even saying the last time that happened to Barboza was actually when Khabib fought him, which makes a lot of sense because it's the same fighting style. They both take people to the ground and control them there the whole time. So it makes a lot of sense. And that really also tells you how good Mitchell really is that he's being compared to that level. And he's really doing that well against somebody like Barboza. So after that, really, a lot of people are saying Giga is next. That makes a lot of sense to me. Giga just lost against one of the top guys. Also, he was the one who beat Barboza last time. So it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Also, can Giga actually compete with a wrestler like that? And can Mitchell compete against a kickboxer like that? Because yes, he did pretty well against Barboza, but honestly, Giga might be a little bit of a step up in striking, possibly, because he's slightly more well-rounded, maybe. I don't really know, because he did beat Barboza, so you can't say that he's worse. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know. I think that would be really good. But honestly, I think he could even do better than that. I think he could do better than Giga. I want him to go against somebody even better. I think somebody more well-rounded like Emmett or Cater, maybe even Yair Rodriguez, because like when Giga was fighting Barboza, he didn't really make it look that easy. It was a really close fight. Like I said, like, can you even say that Giga's much better of a striker than Barboza? I'm not really sure because he beat him with grappling, really. So I don't know. I just think Mitchell would probably do pretty easily against that too. I don't know. That's what I think. So like I said, I think he should fight somebody even better than that. I think he should go against Emmett, Cater. Probably not. Maybe not Yair. That might be too much, too quick because he's that good. But one of those two, I think that would be really good to see. Oh boy, we're 45 minutes in. Still haven't started. Okay. RDA and Moicano. Oh my God, this one was good. Well, actually, it was really just one-sided violence here. I had Dos Anjos by decision going into this. I mean, it's a 5-round fight. Moicano came in on 5 days' notice, not prepared whatsoever for a 5-round fight. Plus, he fought 2 weeks ago. Plus, RDA is one of the best, really the best in UFC history. He is so, so good, so well-rounded. So it didn't really make much sense to really in this matchup at all. And that's exactly what we saw, really. It was just absolute dominance on the ground for most of the fight. In fact, I think it was the third here. Yeah. Oh, yeah, he dropped Moicano in the third. Had dozens, I'm not even kidding, dozens of unanswered shots on the ground in the third round there. Had Moicano bleeding all over the place so much. I mean, really looked like it was going to stop the fight. At the end of the third, they were talking. They brought the doctor in. Should we stop this fight? Should we stop this fight? He made it past the doctor's test that time. Fourth round, no better at all. Got even worse, to be honest. And then they were really, really thinking about stopping that fight. I think it was Goddard, the referee here. Even told Moicano, if you don't do anything in the next 30 seconds, I have to end the fight because, I mean, he's just getting absolutely destroyed in this one. And they let it go again. He didn't necessarily do too much, but he did kind of near the end start to get going, actually, which is very surprising. It honestly reminded me a little bit of Ortega against Volkanovski because he actually started to land some big shots and even actually wobbled RDA in the fifth round. Either way, though, very, very clearly a decision win for RDA, though. But I ended up giving Moicano the second most valuable fighter bonus because of that. I mean, to come in like that on such late notice in a 5-round fight against RDA, and not only that, get absolutely destroyed and still make it to the final bell. That is incredible. So That was my other one for the most valuable fighter. So what's next for RDA though? He probably, he has to. He doesn't probably need to. He has to fight Islam or Dariush to get the title shot, or we remake that Fiziev fight. That also makes a lot of sense. But Fiziev is the only reason Fiziev had to not do it was because he caught COVID. So honestly, I think Fiziev is going to be ready way before RDA is going to be ready. So there's a good chance that Fiziev could find another fight first. If he doesn't, though, this would make the most sense. Another one, though, I'm going to be talking about him later, too, actually, even though we don't like to talk about him too much because he's talked about a lot. McGregor. Why not? This is the perfect person for him to come back against. Because RDA, he's not like Islam. He's not on that level because Islam is just so beyond everybody else, I would say, in the division, except for maybe Oliveira. Conor and RDA makes so much sense. And that was actually supposed to be a matchup that happened years ago. So it makes a lot of sense for Conor. Makes a lot of sense for RDA, honestly, too. Because Islam is probably fighting Dariush, which basically eliminates everything that RDA is waiting for. So yeah, and Conor's going to be coming back, he says, in July, maybe June. So it just makes a lot of sense. Plus, it's a decent matchup for both of them. McGregor isn't going to be... Well, there is obviously a lot of wrestling coming from RDA, but not at the same level that he's going to be completely fucked with like Islam. Because make no mistake, I love McGregor. I love Conor, but honestly, Islam is just maybe even a better version than Khabib. Like he's so close to it. It's like just really the same thing is going to happen. He's just going to be dominated by the wrestling. And especially in your first fight back, you don't want that. So at least RDA is going to challenge him on the feet like that. So I think that would be an amazing, amazing matchup for both of them. Plus, that's a lot of hype too. I think that's great hype for both of them because everybody loves RDA. He's a huge name in himself. So Conor RDA makes a lot of sense. In the main event now, Covington Masvidal, of course. I had Covington by decision. And honestly, if you didn't have Covington by decision, I don't know what to tell you. You haven't really been paying attention, which is why when I heard that Drake put $275,000 on Masvidal, what an idiot. Seriously. I love Drake, but come on. You obviously don't know anything about MMA if you're putting almost $300K on Masvidal. That's absolute lunacy. Seriously. Putting... the rich person version of this, maybe put $1,000 on them. Normal people like me, maybe at the most put $5, $10 on the off chance that he somehow gets a knockout. But never, even if I had as much money as Drake, I would never have put this much money on Masvidal to win. Absolutely no way. Absolutely not. And it's because of exactly what happened. Colby stuck to the game plan the entire time. Exactly what we thought he was going to do. Lots of takedowns, controlled the first round like that. They opened up the striking, and I said he was going to do that. I said Colby can win the whole fight by just doing takedowns like that, but he's a showman. He wants to make it interesting by throwing in some striking, and that's exactly what he did. In the second round, landed, threw out some more striking there. But then, and you know what? Funny enough, craziest part, Masvidal was getting outboxed. Colby was outstriking the boxer Masvidal. That was literally Masvidal's only chance to win, was on the feet, and he was getting smoked on the feet. So, really just all around terrible situation for Masvidal. Absolutely terrible. What was I going to say? And then really, probably because of his stamina, Colby really started to move way past it in the third, fourth, and fifth round. Really started in the third. Took him down, controlled him for the whole third round, really. landed some elbows. The fourth one, slightly more interesting again with the striking. He brought it back out. Colby landed some good combos that actually had Masvidal falling into the fence. So, I mean, really, like I said, absolutely insane to watch Masvidal get hit like that all the time. But then really, Jorge had one chance. Masvidal had one chance in this whole fight, and he blew it. He knocked Colby down to his knees, and then he stepped away. Masvidal stepped backwards. He stepped backwards. If he would have just jumped in and kept that momentum going, who knows? Maybe he could have got something going. But that was literally his one opportunity in the whole fight, and he blew it. Actually, let's see it. Masvidal, you blew it. You blew it. We haven't had one of those in a while. I figured I would do it since I literally just remembered that. Anyway, yeah, I mean, and he, you know what? They asked him about it after, and he said it was because he figured, oh, okay, I dropped Colby, and he's just gonna, like, not that he was faking it or anything, not that Colby was faking being dropped or anything, but he figured that Colby was gonna jump in for the wrestling, and that he'd be screwed for the rest of the round again, and that's why he didn't do it. And I mean, that's kind of fair. Like, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, I mean, I know it's a split second thing and you're in the middle of a fight. So obviously, who are we to judge? But, we're talking, still. Yeah, so that's why he didn't do it. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but still, you always want to see them jump in there. And who knows what would have happened if he would have actually jumped in there. I don't know. The final round, again, more grappling from Covington, of course. Masvidal exhausted by that point, of course, to really just try and not get submitted or anything by Colby, and really his just relentless wrestling the entire time. And you know what? Colby didn't even look that tired after 5 rounds, which is crazy to think of. But that's just how good Colby is. I mean, obviously you hate him as a person, but you got to admit that Colby's pretty talented. He ended up winning 49-46, 50-44, 50-45. I kind of saw it as 50-45 as well. Maybe even, actually, you know what? Even 50-44, that's pretty reasonable. I mean, it was pretty one-sided at one point. The future. Dana White said it best too. He doesn't know where either one of these guys is going either. He has no idea. And that would have been the same if Masvidal had won too, because they're both kind of in the middle of nowhere. Neither one of them is getting a title shot next, obviously, because they both already had 2 against Usman. So that doesn't make any sense. And I mean, yeah, okay. So what is next though? I think there are a couple of ways to go for both of them. The most obvious one is, of course, the winner of Chimaev and Burns. Because I think really the title shot should be going to Edwards at this point. I mean, come on. What does Edwards have to do? Edwards has been winning. I don't know. What's his winning streak now? I mean, it's ridiculous. Is it 9 now or something like that? So he really should be getting the title shot. It's crazy that he hasn't had it yet. And then, I mean, they're also saying maybe Chimaev gets it if he beats Burns. I could also see that. I mean, I'm not going to argue with that. Chimaev is incredible. So if he can beat Burns in the first round, even the second round, even if he can just dominate him at all, that's a pretty clear title shot chance for me. But, again, Edwards, why not? He really should have gotten the chance already. So I think he should get the title shot. And then the winner of Chimaev and Burns fights Colby. That's what I think. I don't know. Leave your opinions in the comments. I don't know. That's just my opinion. And of course, but like I said, though, if Chimaev wins and Edwards doesn't get the shot, that makes a lot of sense, of course. As for Masvidal, I actually didn't even mention this earlier. I thought that Kevin Holland is actually the perfect opponent for Masvidal, I think. I really do. And I'll tell you why. Because the striking, which is what I was saying before, that Kevin Holland is so good at striking that Wonder Boy would make a lot of sense. But the other person who makes a lot of sense is Masvidal, because he's also on a losing streak on the way down the division. So why not fight somebody like Holland? Because if Masvidal can beat Holland, that's a good reason to, give him somebody up top again. Otherwise, Masvidal's just going to be fighting people at the bottom or something. Also, he's basically going to be only getting kind of prize fights from now. He's never going to get another title shot again. So he's really going to be getting big names or exciting fights in his next fights for the rest of his contract, which he just signed, I think, a 5-fight contract. So Holland makes a lot of sense for the first one of those. Why not do that? Like I said, he's on a losing streak. Holland is trying to make his name in the welterweight division. It makes a lot of sense. And that would be really exciting. And oh my God, could you imagine the trash talking in that? Masvidal likes to talk. Holland talks more than literally anybody else. Amazing. I would love to see that. I would pay to see that. That is incredible. But the other one, and I told you I was going to talk about him again twice today, Conor McGregor. It makes a lot of sense. Why not? And people have also mentioned that too, because I just find it crazy that Conor is still trying to fight at 155. To me, it just doesn't make any sense. He's so big. If you follow him on Instagram, he is massive. And he even said, I think, he's walking around at 180, 185. I mean, he is huge. And that's not even obviously no fat or anything either. It's just all a lot of muscle. His arms are huge. So why not? Just fuck 155. Go for 170. He is huge now. So possibly the most entertaining match, one of the most entertaining matchups of the year, I would say, would be if Conor fought Masvidal in the next one. Call me crazy, but I think that would make the most sense. I mean, I don't think that's what we're going to see because Conor wants to go for 155. But to me, 170 makes so much more sense. That's what I want to see. I think we are going to see that eventually, though. I feel like once he loses once more in the 155, I think he's going to say, okay, that's enough for me and go up to 170. I really think that's what we're going to see here. And honestly, I think he can do really well up there. I don't think he's ever beating Chimaev, but he can definitely beat most of the other people up there. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think. I don't know. Before we take a break, I will quickly talk about Unified MMA 43. And good God, we haven't even talked about this week's UFC Vegas 50, but we'll quickly talk about it. There was only 5 fights, I think. Amazing night of Canadian MMA. We love a good Canadian MMA night. We haven't had one in so long because I'm going to be covering every single one that happens in Canada that I can watch. So basically all the ones that are on Fight Pass. And this is the only one they've had this year so far. The next one is it's actually tomorrow on Thursday. It's going to be the BFL, which is in Vancouver, which I would watch if I didn't have other problems. But yeah, BFL is tomorrow. So that is amazing. I will be watching that on Fight Pass. So if you want to see more Canadian MMA, go hit that up. I will be watching it and I will be tweeting about it. But that's enough of the BFL. We're talking about Unified right now. It was in Enoch, Alberta at, the River Cree Casino and Resort. Right. I didn't write it down. That was just off the top of my head. But yeah, great fights. And you know what? We had a UFC alum on there, actually 2 UFC alum, KB Buller and Shane Campbell on there. So first fight they had, a submission win. Mac Larson beat Lorenzo Celis. I think it was Celis, not Kellis. That's how I say it. I think that's how they said it. And you know what? Fantastic start to the night. This is everything you would want in an MMA fight. Really, it looked as though Larson was going to finish it early with some great combos. Then it moved to the ground. Mac got his back. to fight for a submission there, but it was Celis who got back into it with his own grappling and trying to use his size to get a submission of his own here. Sorry, I'm stumbling here. It's getting later and I'm trying to read too. Larson flipped it again though. Tried to regain momentum with some ground and pound. So that was really only in the first round, wildly back and forth already, and we love a good fight like that. The second round, very similar. Larson doing well on the feet, Celis getting all the ground control. That being said, Larson was almost finished a couple of times thanks to the ground and pound and the clinch work. But in the third, Celis got back into it, got Larson to the ground, shut down the offense. And unbelievably, though, with a minute left in the fight, Larson managed to reverse the whole thing, quickly got his arm under Lorenzo's chin for a come-from-behind submission win. Wild, wild fight. I was even thinking of possibly making this the fight of the night, but you'll see why I picked the other one for Brawl of the Night later. And that was actually KB Buller who ended up getting that one against Strainia. In the second one, Ali Sharkey beat Sandeep Saran by unanimous decision. Really, the most noticeable part of this was the size and fitness difference that Sharkey had over Saran there. Oh my God. Sharkey is just absolutely shredded, absolutely massive, and Saran was not. Only a couple minutes into the fight, and really, it was something noticeably special about Sharkey. He's very early in his career. I didn't write it down how many fights he was in, but I want to say he was only 4 or 5 fights into his career so far. But, you know, I would say he's one of those people that looks like he's going to be somebody good in about 4 or 5 fights, maybe making it onto the Contender Series or even straight into the UFC. He looked very, very good, and he dominated the entire fight, really. Saran finally got a few punches in the second round, but really short-lived when Sharkey got a crisp combo of his own, moved the fight to the ground again. Sandeep actually threatened with a fairly deep guillotine attempt from the bottom, but Sharkey got control, busted open Saran's nose with some ground and pound. Didn't end up getting the finish, but you know what? Like I said, Ali looked so amazing and so dominant. I mean, he's only a couple fights into his career right now. Like I said, if he keeps on developing that, you know, actually fighting for those finishes, really, really developing those skills, we could for sure see him in the Contender Series soon. That is a guy to watch. Ali Sharkey. That's a guy to watch. Next up was Zachary Powell beating Cole Campbell by decision. There's 7 fights. Shit. Okay, I thought there was only 5. Anyway, fight started with some crisp combos by both guys. Quickly switched into a clinch battle, though. Campbell shot in for a takedown. Sadly, Powell was the one who ended up in the better position, ended up on top. And they hit the ground and obviously won the first round there. I mean, you're on top, easily got the first round there. Second round was dead even to me until Powell got another takedown late in the round, likely took that second round as well, probably going into the third 2-0 right there. And Campbell was still looking good in the third, but Powell got him down again and controlled him for the rest of the fight. It was really just all that grappling, just dominant throughout the whole fight because of that. But Campbell did have some moments throughout the whole fight, had his chance to win even in the final seconds of the fight. So it was close, but you know, when you keep getting controlled like that and taken down, yeah, you know, the other guy's going to win, sadly. Fight number 4, Neil Anderson beat Lucas Neufeld. This one was honestly reminiscent of the previous one, with Anderson being the dominant grappler here. The first round, close battle on the feet with both of them landing some combos here and there. But the real significant moments really came when Anderson caught Neufeld in a deep deep submission attempt. The grappling advantage was really obvious after a while as the fight went on, especially in the third, where he got a 10-8 round on 2 of the cards. So yeah, just Anderson dominating on the ground there. Next one, Ryan Ford beating Devonte Pickney by submission in the second round. This got 2 blue bonuses. It got submission of the night and most valuable fighter of the night for Ryan Ford. What a guy. What a guy. Explosive right from the start of the fight here, trying to land an early KO because they're both huge guys. And Ryan Ford is a boxer. Not to mention he hasn't fought in MMA for 7 years, has only been boxing really since then. So yeah, obviously shooting for that KO. But the momentum quickly went over to Ryan Ford. He got Pickney to the ground, got multiple deep submission attempts there. Pickney got a couple of small moments here and there on the ground. But ultimately, Ford really just kept getting that dominant position each time. Ground and pound, submission attempts all over the place. And that continued in the second. And Pickney found himself in a terrible spot again and Ford ended up getting, I should say, a very impressive triangle choke submission for Ford. And like I said, he ended up getting the blue bonus because he's 39, hasn't fought in MMA for 7 years, and to dominate somebody like that and get a submission as a boxer and really dominate the whole fight like that. That is incredible. We've got a comment here. Oh, never mind. It's just a robot. Okay. So yeah, 2 bonuses there. Of course, submission of the night for a triangle choke. That's pretty hard to do. Plus, of course, most valuable fighter. Co-main, the fight of the night. KB Buller versus Striania Gavrilovic. Absolutely insane fight. Seriously, straight out of the UFC. This was absolutely insane. Fireworks the entire time. I loved every second of it. Absolutely crazy. What was I going to say? Gavrilovic stole the momentum early. Really just constant forward pressure the entire fight, not even just at the start, just constantly forward. Stumbled Buller with huge shots from the fence, almost got an early finish, but Buller is so tough. I noticed that in his last fight too, because he was also on Unified MMA 42, so I recognized him from there. Also, I already knew who KB Buller was because I saw him fight on Fight Island. Plus, Buller Wrestling is in Richmond, which is where I live sometimes. I actually drive past Buller Wrestling twice a week. Actually, no, just once a week. But I drive past it every single week. And that is where this guy's from. I think that's his dad that runs Buller Wrestling. I think I might have even seen him on TV during this. Anyway, so yeah, amazing to see. But anyway, as I was saying, crazy fight. Buller threw in some heavy kicks, elbows, combos all over the place. Even got a huge flying knee over Striania, knocked him back to the fence in the second with that. Amazingly, he somehow recovered from that. Buller kept that momentum going, almost finished him again in the third, I think that was. Nope, that was still in the second. The third, just as close as the first one. Both of them having big moments. Gavrilovic almost got it done again, landed some big shots, but Buller was still landing kicks, just landing way more, I would say. And another massive knee. After that, it was in favor. The decision was 29-28 for Buller. I could totally see that. I totally agree. And my God, was that an insane fight. I mean, just back and forth. And it's crazy to see that. To see Buller like just absolutely destroying him really with the stand-up quite a few times. And Striania just never stopped moving forward like a zombie. It was crazy to see. Absolutely insane. The main event, and then we'll move over to taking a quick break towards, of course, then we'll be doing UFC Vegas 50. Shane Campbell beat Kyle Prepolek, and he is also a UFC alum, Shane Campbell, Hurricane Shane. The skill was very evident for both of these guys, and this is usually what happens. The co-main and the main event of most of these smaller promotions usually have really good fighters, like fighters that you would actually think like, oh, okay, this is like UFC level, or at least Contender Series level, where it's like, oh, this is a really good fight. So that's what we had here. The co-main and the main, great fights. Both men using some slick stand-up, and you can see the skill difference. They're actually like evading. There's tactics. There's everything, and there's a mix of punches and wrestling and grappling. You know, there's everything put together. It seemed as though Campbell was the one ahead early, landing some more strikes and controlling Prepolek along the fence. Continued that in the second round, and third round, a lot closer really, with Prepolek getting some control along the fence, and Shane controlling the striking advantage. It was a tight decision. I had it for Shane Campbell. I think I didn't write what I thought here, but I was pretty sure it was like 29-28. The judges ended up seeing it 30-27, 30-27, and 29-28. He looked very good, but honestly, I don't know. Like, watching him, I'm still not sure if he could go back into the UFC. And he's been in the UFC twice, I think, and he didn't really do well in most of his fights. So I just don't know. I don't know if he'll ever get back. I hope he does, because he's great. I mean, I think he's the double champ in the BFL. So, I mean, he's got belt defenses all over the place. He's basically on every unified card. I mean, he's so good, but can he compete at that level in the UFC? I don't know. I like to think so, and I hope that we do see him back there, but I don't know. That is it for now. We will take a tiny break for 30 seconds or 45 seconds. Again, I don't know how long this thing is. And then we'll be talking about UFC Vegas 50. And we're an hour and 11 minutes in. Holy, I knew this was going to happen, though. And you know what? It's going to happen next week, too. Anyway, let's take that quick break. See you after this.
Allow me to introduce High Stick Vodka, a new way to celebrate victory. Gather around the glass with an award-winning, ultra-premium Canadian-made vodka. You probably won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka has a smooth, hard-hitting taste, or that it's developed in the birthplace of hockey. You won't listen when I say High Stick Vodka is a tribute to the game of hockey, or when I tell you it's distilled 4 times using Canada's purest mountain spring water to provide an authentic, remarkable flavor. But maybe you will listen when I say it comes in a f***ing hockey stick. Showcase your passion for hockey with our limited edition hand-blown hockey stick bottle. Whether you're celebrating victory or drinking to defeat, High Stick Vodka is better after every shot. Visit us at highstickvodka.com. It also comes in this regular bottle. Celebrate victory. Drink responsibly.
And we're back. So, without further ado, UFC Vegas 50, Santos, Ankalaev. Let's go with the main card. And actually, no, I won't show that yet. The main card opens up with an amazing one. Seriously, this, I would say, if not the most, actually, no, it's not the most exciting. It's, I would say, the second most exciting matchup of the night. Bruno Silva, Alex Pereira. You've got the former world champion kickboxer, Alex Pereira, he made his UFC debut last time against Andreas Michailidis, passed the test with flying colors, really, because Michailidis is more of a wrestler, or a grappler at least. So he made that transition over to MMA smoothly, because you never know how that's going to go. Because yes, you're an amazing striker, but can you compete with a UFC level grappler or wrestler? That's always the question. And you know what? He didn't really do that well in the grappling exchanges. He definitely got manhandled a little bit, but you know what? Like I said, he got over it and he ended up getting a KO. So this one, he does not have to worry about that. Silva is not by any means a grappler or a submission artist. He is actually really just a KO artist at this point, which is the same as Pereira. So this is going to be a very close one. Two amazing, amazing strikers. And that's why I'm so excited about this one, because you've got two amazing strikers. Those are always, always the best fights. Bruno Silva. Where are we seeing it here? Only has 3 fights here in the UFC. They've all ended by KO, TKO. 2 of which actually ended in the first round. So he is very, very much a knockout artist. And he's on a 7-fight win streak overall. And not only is he on a 7-fight win streak, all 7 of those are by KO and TKO. So like I said, he is a very, very much a KO artist here. So again, like I said, if Bruno Silva were a grappler or submission artist on a 7-fight win streak, I might have a different opinion on this fight. But, we're talking about a former world champion kickboxer versus a UFC striker, a very good UFC striker. But there's a slight mismatch there because of that experience and because of the difference in skill here. So this one is looking, like I said, amazing stand-up bout. I think you could see a KO on either side, but obviously you got to go with the experience on here, lean towards Alex Pereira by finish. And show me the ticker. We're going to see those. There it is. Those odds from Bet99. Let's see here. You've got -180 for Pereira and Bruno Silva at +145 right now. That's pretty close. Obviously you see the 7-fight win streak, but like I said, you're talking basically about 2 pure strikers here. So to me, -180, those are absolutely incredible odds for that matchup. Definitely putting money on Pereira for that one at -180. Over under 1.5 rounds currently. Over 1.5 is at +130. Very interesting. Under 1.5 at -167. Honestly, at +130 for over 1.5 rounds. That's fantastic. Even on the off chance that maybe Silva starts to, use some grappling, throws him along the fence a little bit, +130. Those are amazing odds. So 2 really pretty good betting lines here for that. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll be doing the over 1.5 and definitely putting some on Pereira. In fact, putting Pereira on a parlay here would drastically improve your parlay odds. So that might even be a great idea. Next up, Drew Dober, Terrance McKinney. This is also actually a really exciting one. And I should have actually maybe this is the second most exciting one. But yeah, very, very interesting here. We just saw Terrance McKinney 2 weeks ago, I think, after getting his 5th first-round finish in a row. 2 of those in the UFC. Absolutely amazing performance last time. All 4 of the other ones were by KO. The last one was by submission. And you know what? He was an amazing, amazing wrestler. So that is a lot. That's pretty good going into this. But we're talking about Dober here. Doberman. What are we talking about here? What was I going to say? Loki's distracting me by being an idiot right next to me. Hold on. This really, to me, is looking like a contender for Blues Brawl of the Night, really. Dober, one of the most feared, huge, absolutely massive lightweight contenders. If you see this guy, you'd think there is no way that this guy is making 155 pounds. He is so big. And he's very, very talented, nonstop. Doesn't really ever get finished. He's so good. He lost a close decision to Brad Riddell in his last one. That's actually what ended up losing him his spot in the top 15. So like I said, huge competition here for McKinney. And honestly, I'm having a tough time predicting this one, I will say, because they've both obviously got knockout power. And McKinney has that wrestling. He's obviously showed that he's got the wrestling now. But I don't know. I honestly think, like a lot of people, that this might just be too much too soon for McKinney, because Dober is just such on a wildly different level than anybody McKinney has ever faced before. So McKinney's going to have a real hard time. And I can definitely tell you, he's not getting a first round finish this time. I can tell you that for sure. But yeah, this is going to be such a close one. I did kind of think maybe McKinney, like maybe he can do it, but honestly, the much safer bet here is Dober. It makes a lot more sense too. Yeah, just the wildly different experience levels. Plus, Dober is also a huge power puncher himself. They've both been knocked out before, so it's not out of the question that either one of them could get a finish here. I'm thinking Dober might get a finish just because he's so just way more experienced here. And like I said, McKinney has been finished before too. So fighting somebody that's that more experienced and very skilled, I think you could see Dober getting a finish here. That is my prediction here. For the odds, -184 for Dober, McKinney +145. If you're feeling that rookie magic, I mean, he's not a rookie anymore, but if you're feeling that magic from McKinney, maybe you could throw it on there because it is pretty tight. But I got to say the much safer bet here is Drew Dober. I would definitely be putting it on that -184. I wouldn't put it in a parlay because there's a couple of those questions, with McKinney being that good and the wrestling. There's a couple of questions there, so I wouldn't put it in a parlay, but I am definitely confident enough to put money on Drew Dober at -184. The next one, Khalil Roundtree and Carl Robertson. Honestly, this was a dead even one to me. I mean, this is so close. There's one difference to me, though. This is, in the light heavyweight division. Roundtree is the natural light heavyweight here. He's been fighting at light heavyweight the whole time. Robertson has not. He's been fighting at middleweight, and that's the difference to me here. Roundtree, bit of a spotty record at 3-3 in his last 6. He lost in the first round to Walker and Kutelaba, and won over Modestas Bukauskas in his last one, which was an amazing KO, by the way. Robertson also, he's on a 2-fight losing streak, but it's not as bad as it sounds, really. His losses were to Brendan Allen and Marvin Vettori. So those are reasonable ones to lose, especially Marvin Vettori. Like I said, the real difference here, though, is that weight, especially when you're moving up a division against somebody who is a natural light heavyweight, meaning they cut down to make light heavyweight, not like Robertson, who is cutting down. That's 25 pounds. That's actually almost 25 pounds, by the way, to make that middleweight. So there's just a huge mismatch in terms of that. Also, then, of course, you got to consider Roundtree obviously used to taking full-on punches from natural light heavyweights. Robertson is not used to that. Robertson's probably got the speed advantage, but just that power and the chin on that, you've got to go with Roundtree here. Plus, like I said, he won his last one out, and it was an amazing KO. So for those slight edges, I've got to go with Khalil Roundtree, and I think we're going to see a finish probably on either side of this. So I'm going Roundtree by finish on this one. And the odds, very much in favor of us here. +105 for Roundtree, -129 for Robertson. 1,000% putting that on the underdog. Like I said, when it's even that close anyway, you usually put money on the underdog. But honestly, I like Roundtree in this matchup, so put it on him anyway. It's looking good. +105, do that. Over under on this one, over 2.5 +116, under 2.5 -150. You could really go either way on this, but I might just stay away from putting any money on the over under here, because the over is very tempting at plus 116 for sure, because you could definitely see a decision here. I could see that. So you might want to put some money on that plus 116, because those in general are very good odds for over 2.5. But, they're light heavyweights. Plus, like I said, you've got that size mismatch probably. So under 2.5, also very much within the question. So you might want to stay away from that one. But just based on the numbers alone, because we love numbers, if you pay attention to statistics, you can make a lot of money that way. The statistics would definitely tell you to take that plus 116. So take with that what you will. The next one, Sadiq Youssef, Alex Caceres. Very, very close to me. The odds, not necessarily the closest, but they should be. They should be very close. Caceres, number 15 right now. Youssef, number 12 right now. Caceres has been on a tear recently. 6 wins in a row over Chase Hooper, Kevin Kroom. Most recently, an amazing, amazing submission win. I actually gave him a bonus for this, and I remember because he actually messaged me back because of it. So I know I gave him the bonus. But yeah, he got an amazing submission win over Sung Woo Choi. Meanwhile, Youssef, coming off a recent decision loss to Arnold Allen, still at a record of 11-2 though. So still very much good too. Before that, he had won all 4 of his UFC fights, including over Feely and Benitez. So decent wins for sure. The odds may suggest otherwise, and we'll get into those other, after this. But the matchup to me, extremely, extremely close. Youssef is talented, but yes, he's ranked, what did I say, 13th? 12th. He's ranked 12th. He hasn't beaten anybody in the top 15. He hasn't. Feely is not around anymore, and Benitez also, neither one of them is in the top 15 anymore, and neither one of them has a win since 2020. So not looking good. That's not a good look really for somebody who's ranked. So to me, Caceres honestly is looking better in this one. I really do think he is. Caceres has the submission and the grappling skills. Should be able to control Youssef with that. I really think he should be able to and grind to a decision win on this one. Maybe even a submission win like he did in his last one. But like I said, he's on a 6-fight win streak. He's got the ground skills. He's got everything. And you know what? Youssef hasn't beat anybody in the top 15. To me, that should at the very least be dead even odds. Maybe even leaning towards Caceres. So the fact that I'm telling you these odds after, it just blows my mind. The odds, Youssef at minus 250 right now, and Caceres at plus 190. Absolute no-brainer to take Caceres on this. Maybe I'm missing something completely. I don't think I am. Maybe if I would have watched the tape on Youssef, he's showing something absolutely insane. But you got to remember, like I said, no wins on anybody in the top 15. Lost his last one, and Caceres is on a 6-fight win streak. At plus 190, that's a huge, huge deal. I don't know what's going on with this one, but that is an amazing, amazing deal. So I'm definitely going to be putting on money on Caceres because that's fantastic. Even again, just based on statistics alone, plus 190 for Caceres. Amazing. That is absolutely mind-blowing, those odds to me. So that's what I've got here. Oh, the over-under on this one. 2.5, of course. Minus 160 for the over. Under is plus 125. I mean, like I said, we're pretty much, we're seeing a decision here, I'm pretty sure. So the over makes sense, minus 160. Like I said, you could see a finish at, plus 125. But minus 160 is probably the way to go. And if it's not worth it on the money there, maybe just skip that one for the over-under. But yeah, I mean, I just can't get over the fact that Caceres is plus 190 right now. I think they're wildly, wildly underestimating this guy. They really are. Co-main, Marlon Moraes and Song Yadong. This one to me is the most exciting one of the night for sure. I mean, both of these guys are so talented, amazing on the feet. I mean, they're so good. The records will suggest otherwise. Moraes is ranked 10th right now. Yadong is ranked 14th. Even though he's ranked 10th, though, Moraes has found himself with a record of 1-4. 1-4 in his last 5. So not good, but you got to remember who he was fighting. He lost to Henry Cejudo, one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time. Sandhagen, also incredible, really number 2 in the division. Font, also really, really good. And then Merab, who is going to be either second or third in the division too. I mean, he's also absolutely incredible. So all 4 of those really make so much sense to lose to. And you know what? A couple of those were close too. Oh, actually, no, well, most of them were finishes and not good finishes, but still, he's still amazing. Either way, Yadong, but as Moraes has been making his way down, Yadong has been making his way up. He's now 3-1 in his last 4. He beat Chito Vera, Casey Kenny, and then Julio Arce in his last one, I believe that was. And he lost a close one to Kyler Phillips, who is also very, very good. So both of these guys, I mean, like I said, both absolute killers, really. They're so good. They're so well-rounded and so good. But the recent history, obviously the clear favorite here is Yadong, but you can't forget how good Moraes really is. I mean, he was up that high for a reason, and there's a reason why he's still ranked 10th after losing four times in 5 fights. Like, that should really tell you how good he actually is if he's still in the rankings after that. Both of them extremely tough, both of them quick, both of them skilled. I mean, really, this is going to be dead even. I think this is going to be so tight. I think we're going to see a decision here, and I think it's going to be incredible to watch. I really do. You don't want to miss this one. And I think, like I said, I think this is the leading contender right now for Brawl of the Night, because I'm so excited for this one. I don't know if you can tell. But I'm going with the guy with all the momentum here. The guy who's obviously just looked better in his recent fights because he's been winning. I'm going with Song Yadong on this one. You know, it makes sense. You kind of have to go in that direction because, you know, Moraes hasn't really done enough recently to justify going against that. But, you know, it's pretty close. It's pretty close. Don't count Moraes out of it yet. That's for sure. As for the odds, plus 200 for Moraes right now. Yadong is at minus 250. I mean, you could still definitely take Yadong. You might even want to make a parlay with him too. Maybe on like a lesser amount of money on that parlay, but still put him in a parlay. But honestly, you might even want to throw just a couple of little tiny bucks at Moraes just in case he gets the upset, because there is a chance, because like I said, he's better than you think. Yadong has been doing very good, but Moraes is better than his record will suggest. So this is a real close one. And you know what? It's over under 1.5 rounds right now, which I think is baffling because Song only has 1 finish. And that was in his last one. He only has 1 finish recently. All of his other ones have been by decision. Moraes also used to get a lot of decisions. So to me, this one is going to be a decision. And I would say it's at least for sure going to get over that 1.5 round mark. So yeah, at minus 134 it is for over 1.5. Very much suggesting that one. I'm definitely going to be putting some money on that one too. And the under is at plus 105. I would never take that. But yeah, the over makes a lot of sense. Yadong makes a lot of sense. But If you're a Moraes fan, you could even put a couple bucks on that. I'm not opposed to that. In the next one, the main event, Thiago Santos, Magomed Ankalaev, excuse me, number 5 in the division, Thiago Santos, and Magomed Ankalaev in 6th right now. Although Santos was actually the closest, technically, if you look at the results and all that, to taking John Jones's belt away from him, he lost in split decision. He was very, very close, obviously. He followed that up with another 2 losses to Glover and then Rakic. And then he actually followed that up with one of the most uneventful wins I have ever seen, which we talked about a few weeks ago, over Johnny Walker. So hasn't really looked that great recently. But honestly, I think he can do a lot better. I don't know why he hasn't been pushing himself recently, but it's just not looking good. As for Ankalaev, I mean, record of 16-1, 7 wins in a row. But you also got to remember that none of those is over anybody with any kind of experience like Santos. I mean, it's not even close to that level of experience. But his wins have been dominant, though. I mean, a lot of those were early finishes. What was I going to say? Or even if they weren't, they were actually pretty dominant anyway, because he didn't get a finish in his last one out, but he easily won the fight. I think that was Uzdemir. I can't remember. It was a couple months ago. I didn't write it down. Just thinking. Once again, honestly, this is a tough one to predict, really. Based on the recent appearances, I would say you got to give the edge to Ankalaev for sure. He's 9 years younger. He's on a huge win streak, and he's been winning pretty dominantly, I would say. But Santos, very tough, very experienced. I don't think there's going to be a finish here. I really don't, because they're both super tough. I can't see a finish happening on either side here. But it seems like Ankalaev will kind of use that strength in the clinch and on the ground, because he is Dagestani. So he's got the wrestling, and that's what he's been doing in all of his other fights. He's been using his grappling and his clinch work and his ground work to win the fight. So I could see him doing that again. But honestly, it's super close. And I find the odds absolutely ridiculous on this. Like I would almost be offended, actually. If as Santos, I would be offended, because these odds are absolutely absurd to me. I have Ankalaev by decision. The odds here, plus 400 for Santos right now. Nobody, honestly, I don't think anybody deserves to put Santos in a plus 400 underdog position. I don't think so. Nobody. Literally, not even Yuri, I would say, would put Santos at a plus 400 clip there. That's ridiculous. Minus 600 for Ankalaev. I do think that Ankalaev is going to win, but I definitely would never suggest that it's that one-sided. I mean, do you want to maybe put a couple bucks on Santos? Honestly, might be a good idea with these odds, because they're really throwing it at you. They're really throwing it at you here. But also just a good opportunity, of course, to put in a parlay here, because I really do think Ankalaev has a little bit of an edge. So, putting that in a parlay wouldn't be that bad of an idea. But when you've got somebody, when it's this close and you've got one of them at plus 400, it's generally a good idea to at least put there's just a couple bucks on Santos, maybe just to make up in case you lose somewhere else on the card and get super lucky. Who knows? But yeah, at a plus 400, that is crazy to me. The over-under right now is set at 3.5 rounds, and it's actually pretty much dead even. It's minus 110 for over 3.5. Under 3.5 rounds is currently minus 116. Like I said, I think this is going to a decision. I don't really see either one of these guys getting a finish. So easy choice for me, minus 110 at over 3.5 rounds. Easy choice for me. I'm putting some money on that one for sure. And that is it for the main event. I'll talk about a couple of prelims before we go. But yeah, let's see if there's any. Oh yeah, we'll talk about parlays later because one of the ones I'm talking about is actually a perfect one for a parlay. The first one I want to talk about, and there's only 2 today. I didn't do 3. Not that I was feeling lazy or anything, but there just weren't that many really cool matchups that I had kind of an interesting kind of thought about here. Tefon and Chukwi and Azamat Mourzakhanov. That is the first one of the night, and it's actually my first prelim that I want to talk about too. Light heavyweights, 2 huge guys. I mean, Chukwi is absolutely massive. Both fairly early in their career, though. And Chukwi sitting at 6-1, made his debut on the Contender Series at 3-0, which is crazy that he got there that early. But you know what? He's clearly earned it, considering he's at 6-1 now. What was I saying? He's done pretty well, beating Jamie Pickett, Mike Rodriguez. Plus, his only loss came to Jun Young Park in a rare, razor-thin majority decision. You don't normally see majority decisions. So yeah, that was obviously very close. Easily could have come out on top and been 7-0 right now. As for Mourzakhanov, he's sitting at 10-0. But he's making his first UFC appearance after getting a first-round finish on the Contender Series. So again, both very early in their careers here, and really given their lack of experience, of course, for both of them, kind of tough to tell who's got the edge here. It always makes sense to lean towards the fighter who's undefeated in general. As a general rule, that's usually the case. But in this case, I would say it's slightly more complicated. Mourzakhanov may be undefeated, but Nchukwi is 8 years younger, has a 6-inch reach advantage, and he's very clearly fought the tougher people. So no matter what happens, I think this is going to be very entertaining, which is also really the main reason why I said to watch this, is because I would say they're both really entertaining. And Nchukwi in all of his fights has been very entertaining and very, very good. So you don't want to miss this, and it's the first fight of the night too. So, tune in early on Saturday. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, since all of Nchukwi's actually appearances have ended in a decision, it seems likely that we'll see that again. Thanks to those small factors, I'm going to lean away from the undefeated man, and I'm actually going to go with Nchukwi on this one, just because I think we're going to see him win another close decision on here. I think it's going to be close, but I think he's going to win. Now over to the odds, plus 145 for Nchukwi. Of course, that's probably a reflection of Mourzakhanov being undefeated. But again, I think Nchukwi just has a better chance here. Plus, like I said, when it's this close, you usually go for the underdog. So with those odds, plus 145, makes sense to go with Nchukwi. But the real good one here too, the over-under is at 1.5, over 1.5 rounds here. Minus 163 for over, plus 125 for under. Like I said, I'm seeing a decision here. So minus 163, amazing. Amazing odd. Do that. Sabina Matzo and Miranda Maverick is the other one, the final one that I'm going to talk about today after an hour and 43 minutes. Return of one of the most promising contenders in the women's flyweight division, Miranda Maverick. My God, is she good. She is so good. If you've been paying attention to the BLÜ-FC broadcasts, or even Twitter, honestly, a few months ago, she was on the wrong side of one of the worst judges' decisions in recent memory. Definitely, yeah, I would say easily the worst decision I've ever seen, overall decision, because very clearly the wrong person won that one. I would say she won that fight fairly easily. I think most people would. And she ended up losing the decision to Macy Barber. Absolutely mind-blowing. I don't know how they got that one. It was a story on Twitter for weeks after that, how stupid that was. And in fact, I think they're probably still going to be talking about it in the lead up this week because that was ridiculous. But anyway, and she actually ended up fighting Erin Blanchfield after that. And that's where she lost her spot in the top 15, sadly. because she got dominated really the whole time, start to finish, for about 15 minutes. But honestly, that doesn't really say anything about Maverick. Maverick is so good. She's so good. But you know what? Blanchfield is really that next generation. She's just that step up where she really could be in the top 5 even this year. She's that good. And Maverick is good, but not on quite that level. So that was really just what happened there. So you can't really take that into consideration too much. On the other side, Sabina Matzo also lost her last 2, but to slightly less impressive competition, Maria Agapova and Alexis Davis. So, you know, Matzo has the slight reach advantage here, but I don't think that's going to mean anything here. Honestly, I think Miranda really should be in the top 15 still. She deserves a spot in the top 15 still. And honestly, I think she's going to win this one pretty easily. I think Maverick is going to win this one by decision because, of course, we see a lot of decisions here. So if you go with the odds, plus 260 for Matzo, minus 334 for Miranda Maverick. Yeah, this is a good one for a parlay, of course, at minus 334. The over-under is 2.5 rounds, of course, minus 275 for the over. Under is set at plus 210. Of course, I would go with the over and maybe even put that in a parlay. Makes a lot of sense. Even just doing the single fight parlay with Maverick over 2.5 or even a Maverick decision makes a lot of sense. So for the parlays, quickly before we go, Maverick, obviously, minus 334 makes sense. Maybe Semmelsberger at minus 234. I mentioned Pereira at minus 180. That makes a lot of sense. Stay away from Dober. Yadong at minus 250. And then Ankalaev at minus 600. That would be the parlay here. Mix and match those, you know, because I would say none of these, I mean, a lot of these ones today aren't even like 100% like, I'm so sure this person is going to win. Like, they're so close here that I would not be doing a 9-fight parlay like I did on the other one. Actually, I might still do it. But anyway, so yeah, I would say any combination of those 4 or 5 people, throw in a couple of those over-under ones, maybe even, especially the over for the Maverick one. Do stuff like that. I think you'll be doing pretty well on the parlays. Maybe even Moutinho. I didn't talk about this one, but Moutinho is at minus 150 right now. That might even be another good idea for a parlay. But that's it for now. Get rid of that ticker. Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. All my socials are below. I tweet about all the UFC stuff. I post all my BLÜ bonuses there. I also post them on Instagram as well as some other things. So check those out below. They're all there, as well as my other YouTube channels. You can find that on YouTube below as well. If you want any other sports news and stuff like that, Area 51 has got all of that covered for you. Of course, I'm the MMA guy for them. But if you want the other sports, they've got you covered too. And if you want to check out Bet99, that's also linked below, and it'll also be linked after in this. I will see you next time. We'll be talking about, of course, this week, and we're going to be talking about BFL 71, I believe that's the number, which is going to be tomorrow. I can't wait to see that. You love the local fights in Vancouver. Can't wait to watch that. And then plus, of course, I can't remember if it's UFC Vegas 51 or if that's the one that's in London, but there's a one in London coming up soon. That's going to be fantastic. I can't remember if that's next week or if it's the week after. Anyway, that's going to be fantastic. And that's what we've got next week. I will see you next time. I can't wait to see what happens, as always. Thanks for watching. See you next time.